Roughly 20 years ago, Porsche caused a big stir when they introduced their first ever SUV, the Cayenne, back in 2004. Now back then, they pretty much set the standard for how an enthusiast should expect an SUV to handle. And for 2022, they are looking to do that again because the Porsche Motorsports team has gotten a hold of the latest Cayenne to create this. This is the 2023 Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT Coupe. And under the hood, it has the most powerful production V8 ever with up to 631 horsepower and a lot of componentry borrowed from the far more expensive sister vehicle, the Lamborghini Urus. So the big question I want answered, if you guys are looking for a high-performance SUV that can shame a lot of supercars on a back road, how does the 2023 Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, because the Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT has the most powerful production V8 ever for a Porsche, I thought I'd show you guys the goods first, because this engine is essentially borrowed from the Lamborghini Urus. Now, I say it's borrowed from the Urus, but technically it starts life as a Porsche engine. We find a variation of this motor in, of course, the regular Cayenne Turbo and the Cayenne GTS, where it's detuned. However, in this application, Porsche has turned up the wick on this 4-liter twin-turbo V8 to produce 631 horsepower and 626 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you're keeping score in the hierarchy, technically the Turbo SE Hybrid makes more power because of the electric motor assist that it gets from its plug-in hybrid system. However, that vehicle is about 600 pounds heavier. So this model here, with the 8-speed automatic transmission built by ZF and standard all-wheel drive with a limited slip diff, Porsche says we'll get to 60 in around 3.1 seconds. That's a half a second quicker than the Turbo SE Hybrid. And fuel economy, in case you guys care, is rated at 14 in the city, 19 on the highway. Premium gas is going to be required. Of course, it's got a roughly 24-gallon fuel tank. And Porsche says this model will reach a top speed of around 186 miles an hour. That's going to be governed limited. So the specs are pretty much right on top of the Lamborghini Urus. Sadly, this Cayenne is not rated to tow because of the center-mounted exhaust. But regular Cayennes can tow a maximum of 7,700 pounds. This car, as it sits, weighs in at just under 5,000 pounds. So it's still a heavy vehicle, but it is a lot lighter versus the e-hybrid model. But closing up the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the styling. Now, this is part of the 3rd generation Cayenne that Porsche first introduced back in 2019. It is most likely due for a significant refresh. I was thinking Porsche would do it for 2023, but as you can see, they're gonna have to probably delay it until 2024. It's still a very attractive vehicle. It's built off of the MLB Evo architecture, which shares the platform with an Audi Q7, a Bentley Bentayga, a Lamborghini Urus. It's a very flexible powertrain or platform. And you can see my tester here painted in Carrera white metallic with the standard 4-point LED headlights with the black finish. These are adaptive headlights, as you can see. They're LED low and high beams. Then you have LED turn signals down here at the lower fascia. There are some functional openings here at the front end because that V8, that big twin turbo V8, is going to require extra cooling. And then my tester is missing the adaptive cruise control option, which is another $3,700. But overall, it is honestly pretty subdued in terms of the exterior styling. So if you guys don't really like the ostentatious looks of the Lamborghini Urus, you're going to want to put this vehicle at the top of your list. Now, in 2020, Porsche introduced the coupe body style. This is the only way that you can get the Turbo GT. It's the coupe because of the silhouette at the back, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But the Cayenne is the biggest vehicle that they make at 194.5 inches long overall. It's got a 114-inch long wheelbase. Technically, this is about 8 inches shorter versus the Lamborghini Urus. So again, it is a smaller, slightly more sportier vehicle because of the Porsche Motorsports team. The one thing I do want to talk about, check out the wheels on this car, guys. 22-inch wheels are going to be standard, but this particular model here has the wheels painted in satin deep blue. So it's a low gloss finish. I love the spoke design with these wheels. You have Pirelli P0 Corsa high performance tires with a 285 front tire and a fatter 315 at the rear. The brake rotors, guys, this is probably the biggest production brakes that I'll ever see on a vehicle, or at least I've ever seen on a vehicle. They measure 17.3 inches in diameter. 17.3 inches, they're carbon ceramic brakes, which are standard on this vehicle. And then it's clamped down by 10 piston calipers. That's right, 10 piston calipers. So there are a lot of cars that have a 17-inch wheel. This has a 17-inch brake rotor, which is why you need a 22-inch wheel. Some serious stopping power, and it shows you that Porsche is serious about this being a track-capable car. The brake calipers on my Tester are painted black. That's a $900 upcharge. I would probably leave them as the bright yellow to make the brakes stand out even more. Now, looking at the rest of the side profile, I actually think for a coupe SUV, which I don't typically like, this is probably my favorite looking in terms of the design. You can see it's got a really beautifully proportioned silhouette. BMW and Mercedes could take notice on how Porsche does their coupe style SUV. My Tester, you can see, has this Porsche script along the side of the vehicle. That's an extra $500. It looks good actually with the Carrera white. I'd probably do the same thing if I was going to spec this out myself. And then looking at the rear, you can see it's got two spoilers at the back, and they are functional. This wing here pops out at 70 miles an hour. You can also set it to have it pop out all the time. It creates and adds downforce. You can see there's another wing at the top here. There's carbon fiber along the side of the wing, and then you can see the Turbo GT comes standard with a carbon fiber roof. That's going to strengthen the vehicle and lower the center of gravity. There is no rear wiper on the back of the coupe model because, again, it tries to be a little bit sportier. And then looking at the rear, the back looks like every other Cayenne Turbo or Cayenne coupe. You can see you've got the full-length LED taillight with the Porsche in the actual center. It says Turbo GT proudly at the center to show off that you've got a special model. And you can see you can also get these taillights to be clear for an extra $900. My Tester just has the standard red taillights. And then down here you can see, this is how you're also going to know that this is a Turbo GT. It's got a unique center outlet dual exhaust tip or exhaust system. It's actually a titanium exhaust. Porsche says it saves about 40 pounds compared to the standard sport exhaust on the regular turbo. You can see when the titanium exhaust heats up, it actually changes the tip color to blue, which kind of matches the wheels, which I love. And the exhaust system sounds pretty good. Let's go ahead and fire it up so you can hear how it sounds. Now, aside from the soft limiter, it is a really satisfying noise, and it sounds even better when we get this vehicle out on the road. But let's go ahead and open up the cargo area because this is still an SUV. So if a 911 simply won't cut it for you because of your lifestyle, you're going to want to look at one of these because you get just under 20 cubic feet of storage space with, as you can see, the seats up. Underneath here, you can see there is a temporary spare tire, not really much in terms of underfloor storage, but if you want to fold down those seats, it'll expand it out to around 51 cubic feet of space. That's a reduction of about 5 cubic feet versus the standard Cayenne, so you're not really losing much in terms of cargo space, but in the real world, because of that sloping roof, it will eat into the upper storage space. But again, this is still a pretty usable amount of stuff or space for those of you who are coming from a sports car especially. So now let's go ahead and move on to the interior of the Cayenne Turbo GT Coupe. The first thing I want to show you guys here is the Porsche key fob that you get. Their smart access key is pretty much standard, but you do have to pay extra for the comfort access, which my Tester has for $900. That basically allows you to keep the key fob in your pocket, and then you can lock and unlock the door by just touching the actual door handle. But again, that is optional. It should not be optional. It should be standard on a vehicle like this, but that's the way Porsche is. They kind of nickel and dime you for everything. Now, my Tester here has the standard combination of a leather with an Alcantara insert, and you also have the contrasting Arctic gray stitching. It certainly looks nice, but I would probably go for the red full leather interior that you can get for an extra $3,000. You can see the seats have Turbo GT embossed in the actual head restraint, although that head restraint is not adjustable. These are the 18-way adjustable seats, but the passenger, however, is only like a 4-way adjustable. That's an upcharge if you want to get full front seat 18-way. You can see my Tester also has a 3-person memory function for the driver, which is nice. And then you can see the door panel. The Turbo GTs come standard with the leather on the upper part of the door panel with this optional carbon fiber trim. And then it's Alcantara down here where you'd rest your elbow. Down here is soft touch plastic material, and this one here also has the Bose stereo system, which is better than the standard one. You can see the window switches have that satisfying clicky feel. You also have power folding mirrors, and these window controls, they just feel really nice. You have one touch for all 4, which is what you expect in a vehicle like this. Now, when it's in its normal ride height, you have around 6.5 inches of ground clearance. Because this vehicle is about 0.6 inches lower than the standard turbo, it makes getting in and out of it feel more like a car. You actually kind of fall into it slightly, but you can adjust that based on the drive mode selections where it'll adjust the air suspension up and down. As I get in and shut the door, The door has a nice solid sounding thunk. This model here does not have the soft close feature. It's an extra $800 where you can get soft closing doors. But looking at the rest of this cabin, you can see the Cayenne was fully redesigned back in 2019, and it has, for the most part, the latest in Porsche infotainment systems. But when you want to start it up, the Porsche does a little switch over here. It looks like a key fob. It's to the left of the car, and then you basically have to turn it to the right and start it like every other vehicle, which a lot of Porsche enthusiasts really like. Because it just makes you feel like you're turning an actual key fob as opposed to just pushing a button like so many other brands. But looking at the rest of this cabin, you can see, let's talk a little bit about the dashboard materials. You have real leather on the upper part of the dash, more of that suede Alcantara with the Arctic gray stitching. That's genuine, of course. The steering wheel has full Alcantara, and you can see it's got that little marker here at the top part of the wheel, very race car-esque. And then you have a lot of controls here for adjusting the infotainment for the instrument panel, where you have a physical tachometer in the center, and then you have two digital displays where you can change the look of that by using these controls. Paddles on the wheel. The horn sounds good. It doesn't sound puny. And then my tester also has a power tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which is also tied into the memory function. So it's nice to see something like that. This is the biggest screen that Porsche currently has in their vehicles. It's 12 inches, so it's about an inch bigger versus something like in the 911 or the Porsche Macan. This has their latest Porsche Connection Management 6.0. It has wireless Apple CarPlay, but it has a wired connection for Android Auto. And you can see this doesn't have the new colors that you see, that you saw in my video of the 2023 Taycan, where you have a little bit more colors in the icons and the graphics and whatnot. You can see my phone is connected. I just have to kind of connect it there. For some reason, it didn't automatically connect, so let's hope that it actually connects when I did that. This system here, you can see at being 12 inches is slightly easier to see, a little bit better to use. It also has embedded GPS, which you can see. Porsche's GPS system is pretty good. It's very quick, it's very responsive, it's very snappy. It also shows you kind of like a Google Earth map display, kind of similar to what Audi does. But again, Porsche's isn't quite as cool. You can see where's the Apple CarPlay. It took a second for it to come up, but I like how the icons are kind of supersized. You can see it a lot better. And it's also relatively quick and snappy to use. Sadly, if you are an Android user, you have to still plug in your phone. There's also a wireless phone charging pad, which my phone is connected to. And then when you go to the car icon here, you can kind of adjust all your different settings and whatnot. But remember, there is a newer system that has colors in the display that Porsche has not added to the Cayenne for 2023 just yet, but the 2024 Cayenne could have that when they refresh the car. Over here you can see a lot of touch sensitive buttons where this piano black plastic panel is. It shows fingerprints annoyingly, so if you guys prefer the old models with their actual clicky buttons, this doesn't have that. But you can see when you touch these, it actually does have a slight click when you push on these little touch sensors, so that's something to keep in mind. This controls the 8-speed automatic transmission. This is a ZF transmission. Pull this little trigger and push forward to go to reverse. You can see there's the backup camera with parking sensors. It also has a camera washer. My tester does not have the full 360 surround view camera. That's an extra, I think, $1,200 that mine, again, is missing in terms of options. Push this button here to go to park. There's an electronic parking brake here. And then you can see my tester, for some reason, actually has an ashtray here, because you're going to want to smoke in your $200,000 luxury SUV, and a cigarette lighter over here, cup holders and whatnot. A little bit lacking in terms of storage. That's kind of the way that the Cayenne's always been. More Alcantara here on the armrest pad. You can see there's my phone charging to the wireless charger. You have two USB-C charging ports in there. It's a little bit of a small center console storage, but it is nice that you have covered storage. And then you can see the seats. They look really good, but again, I would get a different color because it's just too dark in this cabin. It makes it feel a little bit just too serious, and it doesn't have enough color for me. More carbon fiber on the dashboard here, and then you open this up, you can see the glove box is damped. It's lined with felt. It's a pretty decent size. And then over here you can see auto dimming rearview mirror, but there's your view out of the back. I really think that Porsche, along with every other German brand, needs to do a digital camera rearview mirror. That's something they don't do. You can see there's LED map lighting in here, and then the headroom space is good because there's no sunroof available on this model, and you have the suede Alcantara on the roofline and on the pillars. So overall, the interior certainly feels nice, but I would probably spend another $5,000 and add the full leather seats with cooled seats and the heads-up display that my tester also has. That's extra, but overall, it's a really nice place to spend time, and it feels very comfortable and very spacious. Looking at the back seat of the Turbo GT Coupe, you can see this actually only comes as a 4-seater. Porsche has removed the center seat, which I don't believe they allow you to put it back. So again, the center seat's probably not something people use anyways, but my tester here, you can see still the same high quality materials on the back seats. You can also get a manual rear sunshade for like an extra $400 that mine doesn't have. You can see the soft touch materials extend with real leather on the lower part of the door panel, and Porsche does not quote the legroom figures in their SUVs for some reason. I was trying to find that actual number, but I'd say this is definitely more spacious than the Macan. This probably feels like 37-ish inches of legroom. When I get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, and then you have some nice features here like 3-level heated seats in the rear, which are optional. You have rear seat air vents, you have a USB-C charging port, another cigarette lighter, and there's a little bit more storage. Actually, that's an ashtray, which is surprising to see. In terms of storage, even though these are sport seats, you have 2 storage cubbies right there, and then if you'd like, you can fold down this armrest here that gives you 2 cup holders, and then the seats, they do have a recline function. You can kind of pull this little lever down here, and then the seat, you can see I can recline it up or I can recline it back. So it's nice that Porsche gives you that option. In terms of headspace, because of the lack of sunroof, there is a decent amount. And again, if you want an SUV that actually has space for adults, the Cayenne can do it. That's something the Macan kind of struggles with because of how much smaller it is. So finally, we are behind the wheel of the most powerful production Cayenne ever. The last time I drove the coupe, it was the very, very sluggish 3-liter turbo V6. This is the one that I've been waiting to drive, and I want to test out what I can get 0 to 60 wise. Keep in mind, we are at about 3,000 feet above sea level here, so we may not get exactly what Porsche's time suggests, but let's go ahead and see what we can get. Performance start. Oh, oh, oh God. 3.5 seconds there, 3.56 seconds. And that's with it going very uphill. That's like a 7% incline. So, and plus the elevation, I'll see if I can find a better road. But considering the fact that this vehicle, I got 3.5 in my first run there where I'm going slightly uphill. Porsche claims 3.1. I pretty much believe them. That's a very impressive time. And ooh, a tunnel, a very, very, oh, okay, sorry. This is like the enthusiast in me here. Let's take a listen here. Wow. Now that exhaust system in this car is that titanium exhaust system, which is even louder and lighter weight versus the exhaust system that you'll find in the regular turbo. This car just literally gives me that feeling of tunnel vision in my stomach. When you really, when the boost kicks in, it's so like mind-blowingly fast. I really would expect this car to get to 60 in the 3-second range, 3 seconds flat probably. This thing is just unbelievably quick. But let's see what we can get here again on this road. Performance start. Oh God, last wheel spin there. Oh God, okay. 3.4 seconds there. So that was only slightly uphill by 2.6% grade. A little bit better, but that is just insane. I am just shocked at how I'm getting that feeling of tunnel vision in my stomach, which I don't typically get out of an SUV. I mean, I've driven some fast SUVs. This is just otherworldly quick. And the other thing about this car is, yes, it's quick in a straight line, but the way this thing handles is also shockingly impressive. It's a 5,000-pound SUV with all-wheel drive and seats up to 4 people, and it just attacks a back road the way that I expect sports cars to feel. The all-wheel drive system is liquid cooled, and Porsche says they did that for track reasons because it can send power to whatever wheel it needs to, whatever side it needs to, even faster than the air-cooled system. And it's just, when the boost kicks in, it's insane. This thing just feels like it's a gut punch. That's how quick it accelerates. It's shockingly quick. And then the seats also really hold you in place very nicely, which is what you want them to do in a vehicle that has this much capability. The paddles also work well. This 8-speed auto, honestly, it feels like a PDK. It's shocking to me how Porsche has managed to tune this 8-speed auto to feel just as good as their PDK transmission. Look, it even rotates there slightly. When you put your foot down in a corner, it actually starts to oversteer slightly to make it feel more like a rear-wheel drive car, which is just shocking. Oh God. I mean, the V8 noise in this car I expected it to be slightly louder, and I'm actually kind of happy it's not quite as loud as I thought it would be. But let's try it one more time here again. Launch control, race start or performance start. Oh, okay, wow. It actually got a little sideways there. 3.6 seconds. Again, we are at 3,500 feet above sea level, so I would love to be able to get my hands on this back home to test at sea level, but this is like literally making me feel speechless. I've never felt so alive in an SUV. It's weird because I'm sitting up so high. It's weird, but this car feels like, I keep calling it a car even though it's an SUV, it feels like you could essentially buy it off the showroom floor, take it to your favorite track or back road like this. I mean, the steering is heavy, it's direct, it has tons of feel, and this Sport Plus mode, you can see the transmission rev matches, it auto blips every time you just stab the throttle, and then these brakes, carbon ceramic brakes, so they just will take the abuse all day long. Oh my God, this is so stupid. This is so insane. Only Porsche could give you an SUV that feels like you're driving a GT car. I mean, they call it a turbo GT. It was tuned by Porsche Motorsports team, and it feels every bit like that. Wow, like look at how fast and how comfortably I can take these corners in this car. It's just unbelievable. It's not possible. It's defying the laws of physics in this thing. Oh my God. Wow, I could get into serious trouble with this car. It's just stupid. I never thought I'd want an SUV to feel exactly like a sports car, but this does it. This is the car, the SUV, that will change enthusiast minds about crossovers because of how fast this thing just accelerates. It's just insane. You know what? Another straight road here. Let's try it one more time just for giggles. Okay, that was a good start there. 3.28 seconds there. 3.28. That's still going slightly uphill. Okay, I'll take that. That's a stupid fast number, and I'm just super impressed. Now, again, in terms of luxury SUV, let's just quickly go into normal mode here. And I'll show you guys how much, look at how the difference. The exhaust got so quiet, the steering got a little bit lighter, the suspension got so much softer, and this car just turns back into a luxury car. I literally could drive this on a long road trip. The seats are also comfortable. They don't squeeze me too much. Also, I'm more of an average frame, so you try the seats out yourselves before you decide on that, but they don't squeeze me that much, and I could just drive this thing for hours and hours and hours and enjoy this car. Now, I will say that fuel economy could be an issue. On a full tank, this is showing almost 400 miles on a full tank, which is impressive, but this is gonna be on premium gas, and you have a 24-gallon gas tank. So in the world of $6 a gallon premium gas here in California, it's gonna be a lot less everywhere else. This is an expensive vehicle to fill up, but if you can afford the price, you're not gonna be worried about that anyways. But overall, is this car worthy of the Turbo GT badge? Yes, I'd say so. Is it a bargain compared to a Lamborghini Urus? I don't know. I'd have to drive the two back to back, but if this is the way the Urus feels, and Porsche gives it to you at a significantly cheaper price, sign me up. It's kind of looking at, I can kind of see this car as a bargain and more of a sleeper, and that's kind of the way Porsches have always been. So if you're looking for something that's gonna embarrass a lot of supercars, this car will surprise you. So when I first got my hands on the new coupe body style of the Cayenne back in 2020, it was sadly just the base model with a 3-liter turbocharged V6 that I deemed a little too underpowered considering the Porsche name. So after spending the day driving, or the week driving, this high-performance version, the Turbo GT, the pinnacle of the Cayenne lineup, I'm happy to say that this very much lives up to the Porsche GT Motorsports nameplate. With 631 horsepower under the hood, 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds, that is a time that we simply expected from supercars costing $250,000 to $500,000. It's just unheard of in an SUV. Handling dynamics that are essentially going to leave a lot of sports cars in your wake when you're on a back road, which is just crazy. This car just shrinks and attacks a road and feels a lot smaller than its size would suggest. And the beauty about the Cayenne is if you put this thing into comfort mode, it's still really comfortable and quiet. That's the one thing that really shocked me, was the ride quality because of the air suspension. It's able to soften everything with the adaptive dampers and just give you a luxury SUV when you need it, and then put into Sport Plus, and it turns into this crazy track monster that just happens to be able to seat 4 people and have room for all your stuff. Now, the Cayenne Turbo GT is not perfect. This is still a pretty expensive SUV. You can basically buy a base Cayenne coupe for around 80 grand. This is gonna cost you roughly double at $190,000 to start. Now, if you're keeping score, its sister vehicle, the Lamborghini Urus, is gonna be about $30,000 more expensive. If you're looking at the Aston Martin DBX SUV, that's gonna be about $40,000 more expensive. And if you guys are looking at something like the new Ferrari SUV, don't ask me how to pronounce it, that's gonna start at around $400,000. So if you look at it from that angle, it's kind of a bargain. This particular tester here is kind of light on the options. It's missing some big ticket options that I would add to make it a full-on luxury SUV. This one here came to a total of $197,000. I know it's not cheap. In fact, if you build this car with the right options, like the adaptive cruise control, the upgraded leather with the 18-way seats on both front passenger seats and cooled seats, you're looking at around $210,000. But still, if you look at it from a competitor standpoint, it's actually a good deal. You could also buy less expensive models from like BMW and Mercedes, but they are not quite as quick. Same thing like with Audi, the RSQ8, they are not gonna be quite as quick. They're not gonna handle quite as well. And they just don't have that visceral feel that you get when you purchase a vehicle with the Porsche badge. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2023 Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT Coupe. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.